paper one, we expect to see finance, which deals with money. And we look at what we call the financial documents, like the tax tables, the IRP 5, the employees' income tax. This is the taxable income, and the tax, the medical aid. Then we come to loan documents, i.e. the bank statement, the loan institution showing changes on the loan agreement. The loan, we look at what we call the loan. We looked at what we call the loan amount. We looked at the repayments, how much do you pay per month. When we look at the home loan, we look at what we call the factor that will determine the monthly repayment. And when it comes to taxation, we have personal income tax, also known as payee, which is pay as you, and yeah, we shall look at that also when the time comes. Then taxable, taxable and non-taxable income. We look at rebates. They forgot what we call the medical tax credits. You know, they come after we've looked at rebates. We look at the UIF, the amount, the maximum amount for current, it's 177 rand. This is the maximum UIF one pays, but just know that it's at 1% of one's basic salary. All right, then we go. We have VAT. VAT will always be at 15%, and we have to know there are items that have VAT on them, which we call the VAT inclusive items. And whenever we are including VAT, we shall always take a given price that has no VAT, and we shall multiply by 1,15. That's when we are including VAT. That's when we are including VAT. But then, if we are excluding, we shall always take the price given to us. Definitely, the price should be having VAT, and we divide by 1,15. We divide by 1,15. All right, this is what you expect to see in paper one. All right, we look at what we call tariff, the tariff systems. Usually we look at it when we look at water tariffs, or we call them the water tariffs, and electricity fall under municipal tariffs. Anyway, when we look at tariffs, we have this other kind here, whereby we expect you to know how to create a formula, we expect you how to fill in the table, and we expect you how to interpret the graph. These, they come hand in hand. These are for this kind of work. This is an example. Actually, let's try to do it, and we see we unfortunately we shall not do the graph because we don't have the graph here, but we shall see how it looks like in the future. We shall do the table and the formula. All right, here are 3 contract options for a different copier supplier than the one mentioned in the learner's book. All right. Now, these are contracts that if you're asked to do the equation 1 for contract 1, it will be, you take the fixed amount, which is 600, plus how much do they pay for additional. These are cents and these are rands. So you change the cents into rands, whereby you divide by 100. So this is 0.30. So this will be for any extra copy, you multiply by this, the number of what? The copies someone has made. So this is the formula, or this is the equation for contract 1. Let's look at contract 2. Contract 2, it has a fixed amount of 850. You pay this every month. Once you've paid this, you get 400 pages. They are free of charge. This simply means you start paying after you've exceeded the 400 pages in a month. So how much is each extra? So we shall say 20 cents times, put here the brackets. Now we know the number of copies made. but we need to remove the free ones, which is 400 pages. This is the equation for contract contract 2. We look at contract 3. It has a fixed amount of 1,150. This is every month, and once you pay this, you get 800 free. 800 free copies. So you do that. So here we shall say number of copies you've made minus the 800. Someone might ask us, when does the formula start working? Please, the formula, for example number 2, the formula will start working if the person has used over 400 copies, or if the person has made 400 copies. Whereas the contract number 3, the formula will start working if the copies have exceeded 800. For contract number 1, for it, this is straightforward. It starts counting immediately. All right, let's look at the table, how it looks like. All right, this is where we get it from. Remember, we said our contract 1, someone pays 600 plus the 30 rands times the number of copies. So in this scenario, how did they get 600? They took the number of copies made as 0. If they are 0, that means 0 times that you remain with. Let's look at the second one. How did they get 720 here? 720. All you do is 600 plus comma 03 times the number of copies, which is 400. Which is 400. 400 copies. Once you put this in your calculator, the answer has to come out as it's given. As it's given, 720. That's how they got it. We take another example here. You see this number here, it's constant. The number is constant throughout. It's constant up to when it reaches what? 800. Now, this is when it starts changing. When you take a clear look at the graph, the green line is option 3, and it's straight up to 800, whereas option 2, it's straight up to 400. Why is it straight? Because these are the free copies in option 2, and from here up to 800, these are free copies in option 3. All right, so they continue like this. This is option 1. For it, it has no free copies. That's why it's a straight line. In other words, we say it's what? A direct. These two are combination, or they are combined graphs. They consist of the straight line and the straight line and the increasing line. So these are 2, whereas this one is 1 only. All right. The ones that we've just seen, those were contracts like for the photocopier, and we usually draw and we find out the break-even point. Unfortunately, the first ones, they don't have break-even points. Let's take a look at them and we see the break-even. None of them is touching each other. None of them is touching any other. So we don't have break-even points. But we find some scenarios whereby a line will come and cross through. So now these will be the break-even points when you look at that. And then how do we interpret? The lower the line, the cheaper it becomes. The higher it is, the more expensive it is. It's expensive. All right. So now what does it mean? For example, the line that I've just drawn, this one here, it will be cheaper until it reaches here. Then it becomes a more expensive over option 1. Then it's expensive over option 1. Afterwards, it becomes, in this scenario, it's expensive more than option 1. whereas it's cheaper than option 2. But the moment it crosses option 2, it becomes expensive now. You see that? That's how we interpret the graphs. Okay, let's look at what we call the water tariffs. Water tariffs, the only trick that we need to know is that when we get these water tariff calculations, don't mind about the numbers on the left-hand side. The numbers on the left-hand side, put them aside. So we come and we ask ourselves, for example, if someone uses 25 kiloliters, that means, but here we have, these ones we call them blocks. We have block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, 5, and 6. But then 25 is in block number 4. Yes, if it's in block number 4, how do we get the amount of money a person is going to pay? So we shall start with block number 1. How much will the person pay? The person will pay the maximum kiloliters here, which are 10. The maximum kiloliters here are 10. When it comes to this block number 5, the maximum kiloliters here that are needed are 5. When it comes to block number 3, the maximum also are 5. Whereas when it comes to block number 4, the maximum are 10. How did I get the 10? How did I get it? All I do here from 0 to 10, indeed it's 10. Then from 11 to 15, we don't look at 11. We just get 15 minus the 10, you get the 5. The 20 minus 15, you get the 5 here. The 30 minus that, you get the 10. Anyway, so block number 1, we shall take our 10, which is maximum, times the money each. That's block number. Then we go to block number 2. Block number 2, we said you need a maximum of 5. So this will be 5 times the money which is here, 10,68. Then we come to block number. Now, here we go. We've used this so far. When you add these two, this is 15. We have 5 to make it 20. So block number 5, it needs a maximum of 5. What are we going to do? We shall take it to be times 19,86. Now, when you add these numbers here, so far the ones that we have 10 plus 5 plus 5, it's 20. And we said 25 belongs to block number 4. But block number 4 needs a maximum of 10. So for us, we have 5. So it's fine. Shall say 4, block number 4, whereby we're remaining with 5, times the number in block number 4, which is 31,54. All right. We look for the answers of each. We look for answers for each. This is 83 rands, 20 cents. We multiply 5 times 10,68. We have the answers 53.40 cents. 5 times 19,8. We have the answers 99 rands, 30 cents. Here we have 5 times 31,54. We have 157 rands, 70 cents. Now, what we do? We add everything. Let's add it up. 83 rands 20 cents plus 53 rands 40 cents plus 99 rands 30 cents plus 157 70 cents. So we end up having the answer as 393 rands 60 cents. This is the money. So now if they say, now the final answer, which, because here the question says excluding VAT, so your final answer should include VAT. So we shall say this amount of money, we need to include VAT, multiply by 1, comma. So the answer becomes All right, that's the answer. This is water tariffs. Okay. Someone might ask us, what about if I've used, if you've used, let's say, 15 kiloliters? This simply means you're only going to use 10 times 832. Now the 10, the first 10. Then what's remaining? 5. 5 has been pushed to bracket number 2. 2 is 5 exactly, so we just need to do that. So we do the same story and we say 83 rands, 20 cents plus 53 rands, 40. You get your answer. You add them up. You have the answers. So this you need to multiply 1.15. Why? Because you're including VAT. You include VAT. You get the answer as. So this is your final answer. All right, this was water tariffs. Water tariffs, the first thing you do, look for the maximums. Maximum kiloliters in each bracket. Maximum kiloliters in each bracket. Take them to be buckets. Take them to be buckets. All right, we're saying take these to be buckets. Take these to be buckets of water. So bucket 1 takes a maximum of 10. Starts from 0 to 10. The moment it exceeds 10, it's enough for it. Then you come to bucket number 2. Bucket number 2, it will take 5 maximum. I told you when it comes to this, you ignore these numbers that are on the left-hand side. Instead, we subtract. So 15 minus 10, you get 5. Now, this one will also be 5. This one, it's 10. 10. We have 10. This one is open. So we have bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3, bucket 4, bucket 5, bucket 6, and 7, which is open. All right. So now if someone has used 32, definitely it will have to stop at around bucket number 5. That means bucket number 1 took the 10 plus bucket number 2. Bucket number 2 has taken the 5 plus bucket number 3. Bucket number 3 has taken the 5 plus bucket number 4. Bucket number 4 has taken 10. But when you add this, it's 10, 15, 20, 30. The person has used 2. That means whatever remained is supposed to be where? Here. They never used the full bucket. But then, if bucket number 1, it has taken 10, you need to pay for this 10. That's why we said 10 times 8,32. 10 times this number. This is per. Then the 5. Bucket number 2, 5. 5 times 10,68. Bucket number 3 still needs 5. 5, we are here, times 19. Then bucket number 4, which is 10 times 31,54. Then bucket number 5, the person has not used he has not used the 10 of them. They have only used 2, so it's the 2 that has to come here, times 34 rands 90 cents. This is how we do it. All right. By the way, when you add these kiloliters, this other one represents what? It should give you back the 32. We add 10 plus 5, 15, 15 plus 5, 20, 20 plus 10, you get 30. 30 plus 2, you get 32. Indeed, it's right. So here you calculate your numbers. You calculate your numbers. The first one, we end up having 10 times 8, 32. We have 83 rands, 20 cents. We go to the next one, which is 5 times 10,68, which is 53 rands, 40 cents. We multiply the 5 times the 19,86, 99 rands, 30 cents. We come to this, which is 10 times 3,54, 315, 40 cents. And we take the 2 times for 34,19. We end up having the answer as 68.38. So now at this moment, we add all that we have. We add all that we have. We add all that we have and we look at that and we say, what's the answer? 83 rands, 20 cents, 53 rands, 40 cents, 99 rands, 30 cents, 315 rands, 40 cents, and 68 rands, 38. We add them up and we end up having the answer here. It's what? 619 rands, 68 cents. But remember, because the question says the tariffs per kiloliter excluding VAT, your final answer, you need to include the VAT. That's why we multiply by this much, 1,15, and the answer becomes 712 rands, 63 cents. This is how we do it. Remember, we said these are buckets. They take water. Bucket number 1, it needs 10. It cannot exceed 10. Bucket number 2, it needs 5. It cannot exceed 5. Bucket number 3, it needs 5 also. It cannot exceed 5. Bucket number 4, it needs 10. It can't exceed 10. 5 needs 10. It can't exceed 10. And 6 needs 10. It can't exceed 10. So if someone has used over 50 kiloliters, that means the balance has to come here. And this balance will multiply with this, the same way we've been multiplying with those other numbers, and you get the answer. All right, let's continue. We look at electricity. Electricity, these ones will also work with. These ones will also work with. These ones will also work with. It works the same way as water. So block number 5, it needs a maximum of what? 50. That means this one here, it will need, takes a maximum of what? 300. This is takes a maximum of 250. Then this is what? Open, because it does not have any range from what to what. All right, so now here we go. They're asking, show with calculations the amount paid for using 400 kilowatts of electricity. Now, this is so simple. All we are going to do, remember they are saying all tariffs are 14% VAT exclusive. This was the old VAT. The new VAT is supposed to be 15%. Anyway, show with calculation. So 400. Now, over the 400, we take off the 50, sorry. The 50 belongs to block number 1. So it will be 50 times the money is 0.9015. You get the answer. Then what's remaining? 350. But over 350, we only 300 is taken in block number 2. So we also multiply with 1, You get the answer there. Then what's remaining to make it 400? Because we have 50 plus 300, we see 350. 50 is missing. So 50 times. Now 50 has been taken here. But here needs a maximum of 250. It's fine. So we get the 50 that is remaining times. So you get the answer 50 times 0, 0.9015. You have your answer as you have your answers 45 rands 8 cents. Whereas the 300 times 1,0161, you get your answer as 300 rands 83 cents. And the last one, which is 50 times 1,3594. We add up as we did the other time. Remember, they say the exclude, so we need to include. This is how much a person will get. Sorry, this is how much a person will pay. All right, let's look at another example. Another example says, calculate the amount to 2 decimal places for a customer who used. But this is, now they have already told you that the customer has used this, and they have told you where it belonged straight away. They told you in block number 3. That means they covered that. Then here, this is where the balance is. So don't worry about that. Just go straight, multiply with this. They have told, the reason why I'm multiplying is because they have told me this of block number 3. So I cannot start throughout. The first one was saying how much will the person pay. All right. So this will become this much. I will say 183,9745 times 1,3594. And we took off 200. Then multiply this by 1,15. Like I said, the VAT here is supposed to be 15%. And I'm including the VAT there. So here the answer became 287 rands 61 cents. The reason why I didn't go throughout all these brackets, because they've already told me where the units are located of block 3. So block 3, that's what I'm supposed to do. All right, we look at income and expenditure. Income and expenditure. Here we have what you need to know. Income, it's what comes into the account. In other words, we call it what? Credit. You receive the credit. Then debit, it's what goes out, which is what? An expense. Expenditure is debit. Then profit could be, and it is, a positive difference between the selling price and the cost price. If you get it as a negative, it becomes a loss. If you subtract the selling price minus the cost price, or you get a negative, it becomes a loss. All right. Then we look at this. Cost of production. This is what determines what we call the cost price of a given item. Cost price, the price at which one buys And selling price is a price at which one sells. In most cases, the selling price is higher than the cost price. Why? Because to determine the selling price, you need to have the profit plus the cost price. All right. The formula for profit, we usually use it as the formula for profit is usually, and indeed it is, profit will always equal to selling price minus cost price. That means the selling price is same as profit plus cost price. And the cost price is same as selling price minus the profit. That's what you need to know. Then the percentage profit, this percentage, profit as a percentage, it will always be selling price minus the cost price divided by the cost price, you multiply by 100. This reason why we multiply by 100, we are looking for a percentage. We're looking at the percentage. Then, if we had a graph, you would have seen this. We have what we call the break-even point. What you need to know about the break-even point, it's when one makes no profit and there's no loss. We are there. Where you can say one makes no profit, one makes no loss, then where income equals to expenditure. Income equals to expenditure. That's the break-even point where the two lines intersect. When the where the income line intersects with the expenditure line. All right, part 2 of paper 2 is what we call data handling. When you look at data handling, I expect you to remember what we call the measures of central tendency. That's what is tricky there. Measures of central tendency. And measures of central tendency are 3 of them, which we mean we have mean, mode, median. That's the measures of central tendency. The other one, these are measures of spread. Measures of spread, where we have range, we have range, we have quartiles. Still, you talk of the interquartile range, and you talk of percentiles. Data handling. You understand? Data collection, methods of data collection, we have interviews, we have questionnaires, we have recording sheets whereby we can, then we have observations. That's why we use a recording sheet, where you see and you record. Observation, you can use observation. You can have group discussions, where you discuss about something. Then classifying and organizing data. Classification. What I want you to remember is that data is divided into 2. We have what we call categoric, and we have what we call what? Numeric. And numeric is also split into 2, is what we call discrete, and we have what we call continuous. Discrete, it's counted. It's countable. Whereas continuous, it's measured. You can't count it, but you can measure it. We look at things like length versus distance. We look at temperature, anything that you can measure. Whereas discrete, we look at countable, like humans, animals, desks, cars, anything that cannot be in a half. It falls under discrete. All right. This is very categoric, and we shall also have the frequency table. The frequency table is that one whereby we have tariffs. We have the interval this side. Then we have tariffs in between here and frequency, whereby if from 0 to 10, 11 to 20, you know, you have 21 to 30. Then if you have 3 people, then you write 3. If you have 5 of them, sorry, 8 or 7, 8, you write like that. If there are 3 or 5 only, you put that. This is what we call the frequency table, summarizing data. All right. We look at data handling and then looking at summarizing data. Quartiles. What are quartiles? What I want you to remember is that quartiles, these they divide data into 4 equal parts. 4 equal parts. That's why you see we have 100 divided by 4 and each carries 25. But then when we look at it nicely, we shall see that it will look like this. Will look like this. Here we have the minimum, the lowest value that you have. We have Q1, we have Q2, we have Q3, and we have the maximum. Each part here is 25. Each part here is 25. Here we have 25, 25, 25, 25. These are the 4 equal parts I talked about. But then, if you start from here to there, this is Q1. It only carries 25 what? 25%. Then from the lowest to the middle, it has 25 and 25. So which carries 50%. Then from the lowest to the third, we have 75%. Simply meaning your Q1 carries 25% of the data. Your Q2 carries a half of the data. Q3 looks at 75% of the data. In other words, we shall say 25% of the data is below the Q1. Q1 is also known as lower. It's also known as lower quartile. Whereas we look at the middle, this is 50% of the data is either above or below Q2. Q2 is the normal median of hours that we know, whereas 75% of the data is below the Q3 value. Q3 is known as the upper quartile. Upper quartile. Then, what you need to know, how do we get the interquartile range? Interquartile range also abbreviated as the IQR. This, you need to have the upper quartile minus the lower quartile for you to determine the interquartile range or raise. The calculated analysis measures of central tendency, we've just looked at them: mean, mode, median. That's how we do it. All right, we look at data handling. There we go, and we say these will be represented. Remember, you collect data. You collect the data. You organize it. Then you classify it. You need to represent Classify, organize analysis, classify, then you need to represent it. What do we use to represent? We use what we call what? Charts. We have a pie chart, histogram, bar graph. The difference between these, a histogram will never have gaps in between the bars. That one we call it a histogram. Whereas a bar graph will be, so this is a bar graph and this is a histogram. In a line broken graph, this one here, we use it, we would ask you, when do you use a line? This, we use it usually when we are trying to show what? Trend. In other words, change from one period to another. Usually use it to show change. A bar graph, it can also be a compound bar graph. This is when you have two or more bars representing one item. Two or more. Some people call it a double bar graph, but it might be triple or it might have 5 of them. So that's why you say compound. Compound meaning more than one. Scatter plot, this one, it's to show the correlation between the data that you picked. Correlation between the data, but then it's not a straight line. It's not it has no format. So when the data is tending towards the right, we shall say it's a positive correlation. It's tending towards the left, towards below here, we shall say it's a negative correlation. And here we shall say no correlation at all. No correlation. Box and whiskers, I've just seen that. It will always be like that. What I want you to know, when box and whiskers come, questions that you expect from box and whiskers, they can ask you to look for mean, sorry, range, not mean, range. If it's not range, interquartile, or they might tell you to give the median. Those are the questions you expect to see. Nothing like mean, mode, no. Median is the Q2. IQR, it's Q3 minus Q1. Range, maximum minus minimum. It can also be drawn upside down like this, but you take note, because definitely this will be the minimum usually. But you read and you see. This is Q2, Q. This will be Q1 and Q3. If it's upside down like that. All right, here we have this example here. The sales manager of Generators Incorporated, a company that sells generators, collected data of the number of generators that his 3 top performing salesmen sold per month for the year 2023. So now, take note of this. This is representing, each box and whiskers is representing what? Yeah, not number of tanks that were sold. The box and whiskers represent the year. Then the number down here on the scale represents the number of generators that were sold. So question number 1, 2.1 actually. It says estimate the lower total value of the number of generators sold by salesman. Number 3, lower quartile. Remember we said you say mean, Q1, Q2, Q3, and the maximum. Now, the lower, which is Q1, estimate. Here we are. So in between these, we have 4 of them. So this could be, you can say 25 generators. The lower quartile. So the lower quartile in terms of yards, this would be 25% of 12. And you need to find how many months are they. 25% of 12, these are 3 months. You understand? I'm just explaining, but it's not from here. These are the number of generators here. I'm just estimating. Then, for how many months did the salesman want sell 40 or less? 40 or less. Now, salesman number 1 is on top. We look at 40. 40 is median. You understand? 40 or less. That means we are looking at number. So we are looking at 50% of the months. So we say 50% times 12, and we shall say 6 what? 6 months. Where do we get the 12? Remember, I told you the bar, the box and whiskers is representing the year. The salesman sold per month for the year 20. So the box is the full year. You understand? Box and whiskers is present. So I found out that 40 to salesman 1, it was his median. And median sits at 50%. So 50% of the number of months in a year. Because how many months did salesman 1 sell? 40 or less? We are here. Less, it's this. More, it's this other side. Okay, we continue and you see. Let's look at the other. It says, determine, we are doing this, determine the minimum and the maximum number of generators sold per month by salesman 2. So remember, we are looking at the year. So minimum. So minimum, it's this value here. Maximum, it's this other value here. Salesman 2. So minimum, we come and anticipate. Anticipate, it could be minimum, could be 29. Remember, we are anticipating 29, even 30 is fine. Then the sorry. You know, minimum. So that one there. Minimum is this one. Minimum is this one here, which is 25, probably 25. And the maximum, it's this one here. It's supposed to be 60, 64. It's around this, which is around 65. It's fine. Identify the minimum and the maximum. Maximum and minimum. The salesman to receive the awards for the top salesman in 2023. Do you think the word was given the correct salesman? Give 2 reasons. So now we don't just look at it and we say, now salesman number 2. But then we look at sales number 2, his lowest value, which is, okay, let's do this. Let's compare. How would you tell the impact? The impact here, you say, we need to know the mean. We need to know Q1. We need to know Q2, Q3, and the maximum. For the 3, those people, we have 1, we have 2, 3. So the minimum value of salesman number 1, we see it as around 15 or 14. The minimum for sales number 2, let's see, approximately 25. Then the minimum of sales number, it's approximately, it's a 17. Then Q1. Q1 for salesman 1, it's around 28. Q1 of salesman number 2, it's around 29. No, this one is not. You draw a line there and you come and see. It's not 20, it's 27. Then Q3, the minimum, sorry, the Q1 of is 20, 25. So Q2, median, Q1 is the salesman, it's 40. Yeah, 40 for salesman number one. Number two, it's 48. Number three, it's 40, probably 40, 43. Then Q3, we are standing at 48. We are standing at 40, 50. And we are standing at 48. 48, 48. Max, what was the highest number sold? Q1 sold 52. Look at that. 52. Q3 sold 52. Q2 sold. So indeed, he was the best because now, look, the minimum number of tanks is sold to 25, which was approximately 50, which was the 25% of these other people. Because for them, 20. So now his 25%, he was 29. His 50%, it was his maximum. Look at the maximum, 64. These other ones had 52. So he had a reason. You can compare it like that. That's the question. If the minimum commission that a salesman earn per generator is 1,375, determine the lowest amount that sales number two could have got in 2023. Now, this is a minimum. So now they're asking you could determine the lowest. So we come here, sales number two. What's the lowest number? How many generators did he sell? He said around 25, ne? Might have 23. So it's 25 generators. 25 generators times the money. We are looking at the minimum. Generators. And would have got 34,375.